Hey guys, welcome to our second episode of What Did You Say? I am Lavi, your chief tea maker.
May.
And I'm Gaushi. Let's get right into it. Hot takes call, and our chief tea officer will be giving us statements which could be true or false. Let's go!
Hey you go girls,
Thank you.
Let's get started. So, to the first statement.
Right.
Governments have fully regulated AI and eliminated all risks. So here we go. We have all said, what did you say, Kashi?
False.
False. According to 2023 report by Goldman Sachs, AI could automate the equivalent of 300 million full-time jobs globally. I say true.
I said true as well.
False. I thought it was higher.
Actually, it's true.
I thought
Scary.
it would have been
UK education surveys between 2023 to 2024 indicate 50% or more students aged 13 to 18 have used AI tools like ChatGPT for homework.
I said true.
I say true.
I say true.
I can tell you that from my experience as a tutor. I would have actually thought it was higher.
Say. But then I think it's also,
Digital poverty.
yeah.
By 2025, 60% of UK teachers will be replaced by AI tutors.
Okay.
Right?
I said false.
I said false.
Yeah, I think teacher does a lot more than just teach subjects.
Exactly.
That is so true. It is false. That is
regulate
not
all
true.
those hormones.
So teachers, don't be worried. You're not going to get replaced. AI has been around since the 1950s. Alan Turing's question, can machines think, in 1950, kicked off the entire field. Right?
I said false.
False. I said false.
False.
Well, actually, guys, it's true.
Since the 1950s.
What?
1950s. What did you just say?
That is crazy.
So it's been a really long time. That's before our parents were probably even born.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like if your
that.
parents are in your 50s or something. That's crazy.
The first chatbot, Eliza, was created in 1966. She mimicked a psychotherapist and people really thought she understood them.
After the last fact, I'm just going to take a guess.
All right. what
I
did
said
you say?
true.
I said false. You said false.
Yeah.
And the answer is, oh my God, it's true.
I'm really surprised. That's
You're telling me.
I thought chatbots were only recent. Like, you know, when you got those AI assistants when you're
Yeah.
like trying to book something or appointments. I'm so surprised. And a psychotherapist as well.
Basically, ChatGPT is an old thing.
So basically,
ChatGPT is version 52, I think.
so Eliza is basically like Siri's grandma.
Yeah.
That's so interesting though.
Wow.
We had an Alexa, a Siri way before.
AI can hallucinate. When AI invents facts or images they don't exist, it's not lying, it's overconfidently imagining.
Oh wait.
I said true.
I said true.
I can see that. It's like LSD.
No,
It's
because
like
some of the
illustrations.
images, like, you know, like the prompts you put, like that's hallucinating.
Yeah, like it's not taking pictures off the internet.
Yeah.
It's genuinely,
genuinely
drawn
generating.
from- yeah, so I
That's
can
actually
see that.
shocking.
That probably
see that.
explains why certain prompts take ages to like load.
Oh,
Yeah.
and sometimes it'll be like, sorry, we can't do it.
Yeah. That's when you know it's too tired. Well, there it goes. We've had a nice warm-up session, guys.
Yeah, so what is our topic?
Well, now off to our next segment, which is defining the crisis.
Ooh.
So, from my statements, you guys would have had a good idea what this episode's going to be about. Can AI be evil?
Ooh.
Or are we just scared of it? So far, what we've got from all the statements, AI is no longer futuristic. It's kind of embedded into our daily lives now. So it writes emails, it plans lessons, it's generating images, music, captions, scripts, you name it all. But as it becomes more powerful, the question that we all have right now is it shifting from, is it useful to, is it becoming evil? Is it becoming dangerous? And even deeper, can something without emotion or morality actually become evil? Or are we just projecting our human feelings
Oh, that's a good question.
onto it?
That is scary.
That's a good question.
Yeah, right? It's a very deep conversation over here. How is AI integrated into our lives right now?
Did you know that over 4 billion people use AI right now in this current moment?
4 billion?
4 billion people.
That's a lot.
That's like half the population.
I was thinking about this, like, when did it all start? But I probably think the first thing was like, when they introduced the Face ID, and then like small things like the navigation apps, Alexa. Like I remember like way back when I was thinking, oh, that's a bit weird. But now everyone has an Alexa in their home. Everyone has a Google Assistant. I mean, I still don't have one to this day. But Face ID, like the first thing you do is you wake up and you use AI.
And then the other thing is like, it's unknowingly as well. So for example, like TikTok and Instagram now use like AI to recommend certain products or features that you use.
Oh my God.
So whether you know it or not, you're actually using AI on a day-to-day basis, which is shocking.
But is it, it is, isn't it? Because it's basically taking what we like and reinforcing it back on our For You page.
No, yeah, it is. But there's also these moments, and I'm sure all of you guys can relate to this, but have you ever done this thing where you're sitting there talking to your friend about something and you open Instagram and it's there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's so scary.
Guys, we're all creatives here, right? Who do you think benefits from AI the most?
I think it's large corporations. About 20 to 40% of productivity, has been increased due to usage of like AI. And you can start to see it in the amount of people that are getting, fired as a result of it. Because the lower levels of like workforce is getting laid off. Because our tasks are getting automated. Like for example, before when we were writing emails, we had to manually write it, think about it. But now it's like ChatGPT, quick response.
Yeah, I was going to say the rich, the wealthy, the big tech companies. But I was going to say the point, which is like, they benefit the most. Like imagine it's like a pyramid and then it trickles down to us. So we get some level benefit. It's like going to a 9-to-5 job. Yeah, they're going to be making the most profit, but we in turn get job security.
That's crazy you said that, because there's an economical theory called trickle-down wealth.
Really?
Yeah, trickle-down wealth. But now, obviously, you can apply it to AI because trickle-down AI.
Yeah, trickle-down AI.
Trickle-down AI. So, yeah, I do see it because, like, for me as a creative, like, I use AI to help me learn. Like, okay, you carry on. You like learn like different various skills. So for example, like for Photoshop, if I'm getting stuck on a specific prompt, I put it into AI, and then it gives you like step-by-step processes. So in that sense, like I use AI to help me learn.
And one more thing, we forgot governments.
Oh yeah,
They love to use it because it's all about like being able to control the democracies.
I was just about to go off on that, because for me the people that benefit the most is the people who run the country, the government. Reason why, as creatives, we all are self-employed, we're doing a lot of things. They are tracking down and making things much more seamless for them. They're getting people to, they will know when people aren't paying taxes. They will know when you're even speeding by not 5 miles per hour, by a mile per hour. There's a lot of things they've done, which in return, they're getting more money from penalizing us.
But then they're hiding the things that they do.
Conspiracies! And your hierarchy pyramid that you mentioned, yes, the companies, by benefiting financially, yes, they do. But I also see it as, yes, we can get our work done quicker, but then that in return makes people, the jobs, telling you to expect more productivity.
Yeah.
I feel like in an hour, if I could do 10 emails, now that there's ChatGPT, they're going to expect me to do 30 emails.
Yeah.
And still get paid the same.
Yeah.
Whole different topic.
I also want to highlight that I think now, because of AI, the disparity between like the third world countries and developed countries is going to get huge, and like
I have an interesting fact on that, but let's move on to the next question.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you about it.
No, I think we do touch up on that later on. So when we say AI is helping us grow, what kind of growth are we actually talking
I
about?
think with AI, there's a projection of like $15 trillion in terms of GDP by 2030, and that's a PwC estimate. So
Whoa! That's purely by AI.
just by the help of AI. So
When
obviously
I think-
economic growth is there.
Yeah, economic growth, and I was going to say productivity growth.
Yeah.
Because I read this fact, which is this is based on the US economy, which is they actually haven't experienced sustained productivity such as what we have right now since the 1990s.
Wow.
And another really cool fact is that to see that growth, so you know the steam engine, it took 60 years to see the impact of that on the economy and to have economic growth. 15 years for the personal computer to increase economic productivity. So if AI can do it, they're thinking it's going to be even shorter at the time it can speed up the economic growth. And that's the goal, right?
I'm also like taking a step back. Obviously, that's like on a worldwide scale. Like personally, I think it could help like increase our knowledge, our learning. But then I also feel like I contradict myself in the sense that like at the same time, are we limiting ourselves to the growth that we can be exposed to? Because AI is basically like the data that is available, right? If it's like a certain amount of data, are we limiting it from the other things that are not within AI? So are we limiting our growth? Like, I don't know, like.
Very good point, because that goes on to my next question. At what point does AI assistants stop supporting us and start taking over? And how do we know when using it crosses the line? And touching up on what you said, Gaushi, this is how we know when, you know, it's no longer supporting us. Learning from ChatGPT is great. I mean, the last time I messaged ChatGPT, asked about my skincare routine. So it did help me what products to use depending on my skin and actually learning. And I'm actually like learning things from ChatGPT. But then there are points where people just use ChatGPT to input a few things just to get a report written. They wouldn't even read it or proof check it, and they would send it and be like, oh, this is not what I was meant to say.
Yeah.
Because people don't proof check. We're relying on it as if it's our brain and we're doing things.
But I was going to ask something like, you know, when we were studying growing up, everything was rote learning and memorization. And nowadays, we don't need that level of memorization if there's facts all around us. We just need to know how to memorize our routine, right? But AI can also help us in another way where it's helping us grow a different set of skills. Like just like, and I'm going to say this, it's just like how AI takes away jobs. It creates new jobs. So maybe as humans, we can't all get like the full set of like skills, but maybe it's taking away the old skills that are not relevant and focusing on the new skills.
We're in a new age of revolution, definitely.
Age. Unless the whole world restarts, then we're fucked.
I think the biggest scare of AI for me personally is like you losing that individuality as humans. Like, don't get me wrong yet, every single caption that I read on Instagram is written by AI. Everything is a freaking movement, hyphens all over it. Like, I love the days where we were able to read captions and it genuinely came from a voice somewhere. But now it's like everything is a movement, everything is a culture movement, everything is chaos. Shut up and write your own captions.
No, you can definitely tell when your own captions aren't written because no one has the time to write a paragraph for your caption. We never used to click see more to read a caption.
When they just leave an emoji as the caption.
Yeah.
Because now people are just too exhausted to even go to AI. It's like, guys, I don't have time. I want to post these pictures.
Yeah.
Well, with that said, I've got a very interesting fact for you guys.
Ooh.
So, do you remember when you were younger in primary school, you would do an IQ test?
Oh yeah.
Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
I felt that.
Wow, we know how it went with me.
That's shocking because I would actually think you're quite smart.
I don't think I was smart in the traditional sense.
In the traditional
way.
Well, IQ does test you in a comprehensive way where they measure a kid's intelligence throughout certain ages. So we've actually been doing this for the past 60 years. And every decade, what we've noticed in every generation, this is actually fact given, according to data, every generation has always excelled the previous generation's IQ level.
Oh.
So
Wait.
what this means, our intelligence has been growing.
But then,
So now, this year is the first year where our IQ level is lower than a previous generation.
Oh,
Wow.
that's sad.
In the first time in human existence, our IQ level has always been
But
growing.
wait.
So this is the first time, not only has it stayed at the same level, it's actually dropped.
why?
But is that in terms of traditional? Like, does IQ test your creativity?
No, so this IQ isn't just a series of maths or English questions.
Okay.
This tests you on everything. So it's talking about general knowledge, it's talking about how you view the world, how you view images, your creativity. This is like an IQ test that the government actually puts and gets kids to do it at school, or you do it at work. We do it at certain points in our lives, which work doesn't tell you it's IQ. They would just say, we're doing an assessment with everyone, let's see. You know, they would tell you to rate between 1 to 4, 1 to 10. They do test our knowledge in a way. This is the first year where we've dropped. And the reason why is because in education, we have now started using devices, computer and screen time. And we've got softwares that are basically AI driven, not teacher driven. It's not human driven. And everything's AI driven. And it thinks it knows how to teach us. But what it's actually done is put our intelligence down. So
because we're not utilizing it. I think we use less brain cells. Before we used to use a bit of critical thinking, but now it's like the thinking is done by AI, and that is what I fear. Like we're losing our individuality, creativity, and our ability to think for anything, which is scary.
No, that was so perfect, because I was going to say, as growing humans in the creative space with AI, like, is it shaping how we're thinking? I feel like we used to be a lot more creative, but now that AI is involved, do we feel more creative, or do we feel like AI is taking away our creativity?
I think it's a bit of both. I mean, you have to be really careful. It's a very slippery slope, as they say. You can use AI to literally do everything for you, be the brain and think of those ideas and whatnot. But at the same time, as a creative, like, I'm really restricting myself from using AI where I could think. So for example, a creative photo shoot, I don't go to AI immediately and be like, oh, what's the idea for this? I try and think of it from that sense. But that being said, AI can hugely help in teaching you to become a better creative.
So how do I get the vision that's in my head?
Yeah.
But I was going to build on that because I went into like design school. So the first thing we were taught in design school was to generate 50 to 60 designs, and would have a brief. And what that process felt like, it felt like I was draining my head. I was like, I had to come up with roughly 100 ideas. Then we'd have to go through a process where we cancelled them all. It was refinement after refinement. Now let's say we have AI and we use that as an extension to generate some of those ideas, to think outside of the box slightly.
Yeah.
We are still the manager. We're still looking at it and refining it. There's a critical thinking process that's going in there still. Right. So I think even though we say we're losing skills, I think we're learning still the skill of how do I make sure this is still hitting the brief? How do I make sure it's, because AI doesn't know that. You have to keep putting in inputs.
The other thing I was going to say is, like, you know, when you have to put in prompts and things, sometimes I have to do like 17 to 19 prompts to get the right answer. But then it's also because I use the free versions. I'm not paying for any of my AI. But then those people that do pay for AI, they get different versions of AI. They get more data sets and whatnot. So that's also a scary thing. Like, you know, the trickle down wealth theory is coming back into play over here, because people that pay for AI, they're going to get large sets of data. There is some sort of like economic, societal class, even in this.
All the time. Anything we do, there's always a hierarchy. But with what you guys now said, it makes me wonder, is AI shaping humans, or is humans shaping AI?
I have a very interesting perspective for this.
Go on.
So as creatives, we all have passion. If I look at an artist who's done a skill for the last 15 years, they have shaped their craft. But to say that if they step away from it, to say in like, if you went to that artist and you asked, who are you as a person? They would have also said art shaped them as well. It goes both ways, do you understand? I think AI shapes us, but also we shape AI. It's a collaborative effect. I think it comes a problem when you let AI shape you too much and you don't know where that line is. And I think there isn't enough instructions on how to use it.
I think that's something that's to come. And I think there definitely are companies that are looking into giving instructions on how to utilize ChatGPT or AI in the perfect way. A good point you made very early on, Kelshi, is that countries that are, say, LADC countries that don't have access to digital devices, they don't have access to ChatGPT, it is different. They don't shape their lives as quick as us. They do everything themselves. So where does the creativity and wealth balance go? And that kind of makes me wonder, is there certain communities or voices being erased?
That is possible because, like I said, like the data set that they use represents probably upper class white representation, and therefore we're diminishing the lower end or ethnic minorities.
We can't collect, like, this is years of data that AI is using. We can't just go and collect data on indigenous people straight away. Like, you've missed out on all the years of history they've had. Even if you try to start now and add that to the AI database, it's still missing those gaps. You can't really fully compensate for those gaps.
Well, what's going to happen is they're going to start misinterpreting certain communities. That's going to shape the way people think about these communities, because if you don't have the knowledge, you're not going to go finding experience by yourself. You're going to go and search on ChatGPT or AI, and they're going to give you the wrong information. So,
and I mean, this is actually evident in like facial recognition. Like darker skinned women have been more there's been higher error rates with darker skinned women as opposed to like lighter skinned men.
I find it always washes me into, like, whenever I ask it to generate a picture, I just look white. I look like I'm a lighter skinned Sri Lankan.
Yeah.
And it just reinforces colorism.
Spilling the tea here.
yeah, I need a tea there. Oh.
But I wanted to say something when you guys were talking about poorer countries.
Mm-hmm.
They will be impacted, but the economies will be less impacted. So it turns out the IMF said that 30% of US jobs will be more impacted compared to India, which is 13%. So the economy will be impacted more by AI because we focus on economic growth and all of these things. Whereas India, because they have such a range in class, there's so many different jobs, not everyone has access to AI. It means certain jobs are still there.
Yeah, they probably have better job retention rates.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
because
right.
we're losing jobs over AI. Also then makes me think, guys, the next question for both of you is, if AI becomes a standard, before you used to do 10 emails, they're now expecting you to do 20 in an hour. So my question is, if it now becomes a standard in education and work, what does that mean for creativity as a skill in future generations?
I think it will almost erase it to a certain extent. If you think about it, even when we go into like, okay, I'm going away from the topic of AI to use it as an analogy, but like the design element of like places has all come to like a simplistic, modern, everything is white, and we've lost the element of creativity. And before, like we used to have like structural, like circular domes or whatever, but now everything is square, everything is white and minimal. And I feel like the same thing is almost going to happen to our brains, just because we're using like AI for everything.
I disagree. By the way, this is really nice. The Starbucks, it tastes like Starbucks, guys. Okay, back to my point.
Dreaming about having another coffee.
I disagree because the way I was taught creativity when I was studying it was, in order to be the best version of an artist, you need to experience life. And AI can't experience life. The first thing my design teachers told me was, go out there and experience the world, because you're not going to learn it from books. You're not going to learn it from data sets. And humans have created culture. Humans have created that. AI can't do that. AI is looking at previous cultures and, predicting things. So I feel like we will still bring something to the table, which is experience, which is emotion. And it can only work off our instructions.
Well, now that you're saying that, my last question was, how do we maintain authenticity in a world where AI can mimic almost every voice or style?
I think the government has to intervene to make sure that we design policies to safeguard us from AI to a certain extent. Like there needs to be like, if for example a creative work was using AI, it needs to like state that it used AI.
I completely agree to that. Anything, May?
I feel like there will still be authenticity, because guess what? AI costs a lot of money. Like everything is being monetized. What if the script flips where the lower class people, they're able to retain that authenticity because they don't have access to digital tools like AI? Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
They're able to think more creatively. Like they're able to produce the art that still, but then again, obviously corporations will still try to make money off that.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking like, I think there will be a subset of humans that will still retain that. I don't want to use my anime analogies. But if you guys have watched Dr. Stone, it's like that.
Said in schools, like, what do you think is the way to maintain that authenticity?
So my perspective of this whole thing, and as many of you know, I am a private tutor and I work in the education sector. And honestly, as a teacher, I've genuinely found AI very helpful. For me, it helps me plan my lessons, structure it, and that means I can take on more students and I can be more efficient with my time. And you know, time is money, time is valuable. So for me, this has been amazing, it's incredible. But I don't rely on it completely. By that, I obviously use it to streamline my schedule, to make sure I like type up email responses, but I don't use it to actually write student reports and stuff because it won't have my voice and my tone or my emotions. And I'm a big believer in emotions going into words. So it can't mimic me. Well, it can mimic me, but it can't be me. So for that reason, I don't use it to a certain extent. But what worries me with children, they've now got into a habit where it's like, oh, I've got a homework, I don't have time, let me go do a ChatGPT and I'm done.
Yeah.
And then there's this whole divide between parents are like, how do we know they're using ChatGPT or not using ChatGPT? And recently what's happened is I've had a spike in lessons because parents have come to me and said they don't trust their kids doing individual learning because the half an hour they say they are learning is basically just doing ChatGPT work. So a lot of parents come to me and they say, I'd rather pay you to be with my kid for an hour and make sure they're authentically working rather than just doing homework from school.
Schools need to implement like how to use AI safely. Like everyone needs to be given training. Like the same way we had ICT training for like learning how to use Microsoft Word or Outlooks, we need to have like a legitimate plan on how to safeguard us and use AI in an efficient manner.
Because there's a really dangerous epidemic happening right now, which is aunties and uncles watching content on Facebook that is AI generated and believing it's real. Okay, so this is actually serious. Like the amount of times I have to tell them that's not real. There was not an earthquake there. No, that's not happening. It needs a lot of like you said, like guards. But what's interesting is the UK and the US didn't want to sign an agreement which was going to basically control how AI was going to be used. They want to basically use it to the fullest potential. So, I mean, if you're in the UK and America, we're kind of...
Well, we're going to have to see how that all pans out in the future, guys. Well, that kind of concludes our section. That was a lot of opinions, a lot of thoughts.
So let's move on to receipts and confessions. So I'm going to explain to you how we're going to use a theometer. So 1 is harmless and 5 is not ethical. So this one's called confidence gone too far. So this is a bit of a distressing topic. So if you are worried about this affecting your mental health, please just tune out. In 2025, a 16-year-old boy reportedly relied on ChatGPT for emotional support. And the AI allegedly helped him draft a suicide note and discouraged him from talking to his parents. His parents argued that safeguarding failed him and showed AI can be dangerous and influence human decisions. OpenAI denies liability, but the case highlights the real human cost when technology replaces human connection.
Oh my God.
What did you say?
What did you just say? I've actually put a 5 as well.
I put 5. What did you put?
5. I had to turn straight away.
Guys, I think I'm about to tear up. I did not see that coming. I'm in shock.
You know, that's actually scary because like every time we put in a prompt to ChatGPT, I feel like sometimes it just sides with you, even though it's not meant to side with you.
We were saying like an echo chamber.
Feedbacks onto how you're feeling and kind of like just validates your feelings as opposed to like being ethically right.
And it's not teaching people to open up to others, it's teaching people to open up to AI. Because AI is this non-judgmental place.
Yeah.
That is... it drafted a suicide note? Okay, right, yeah.
Right.
Then move on, guys.
But then that's scary because like if that was able to do it, then are there enough protocols or policies that safeguard us as humans?
Should children even be allowed to access AI? Like something like OpenAI?
At this point, no.
Well, there's we're going to need some sort of validation. Some apps do require you to load your passport, to like confirm your age and everything. Yeah, this is serious. This is my one. It's called the AI homework heist.
Oh, how fitting.
Right. So I was teaching a child who seemed to be doing extremely well. Homework was polished, structured, advanced vocabulary. Then test results came back and they totally flunked it. Months later, parents discovered every single piece of homework had been done using ChatGPT. The student failed all their entrance exams because they relied completely on AI. I had to reteach everything organically within months for retakes, without shortcuts. It wasn't just sad for this child, it was heartbreaking watching the parents struggle with the realization that their child hadn't actually learned anything, despite being in school for 9 hours every single day. AI didn't fail that child, dependency did.
Yeah, I put a 3.
I put a 3.
I put a 3. So I think for me, I was thinking about like, it's probably a kid that they could be lazy, but there's a lot of kids that struggle with learning difficulties. And I feel like if you're in grammar schools or like schools that, or, top on the ranking, like they can provide you that support. But right now there's not a lot of SEN support in state schools, so there's not a lot of funding. So I think in that sense, the kids find that as the easy way out. But I think schools need to cultivate like this understanding that, okay, if you're not good at the subject, we can support you. You don't even have to think about getting an A star. You can think about, it's not an A star anymore, is it? It's
It's A star.
No, but it's like
it's a 9.
Isn't it? Yeah.
I was just a bit like, not anymore.
Yeah, no.
It is for A levels, not
No,
for
A-levels,
GCSEs
yeah.
anymore.
So that's why I think it wasn't as high on the scale. I do think it's problematic, but I think kids always find their way in the end.
No, go on. That was a big sigh. No, I think it's so important that we monitor children and their learning, because how are you doing your homework? I mean, good for them, because if I had ChatGPT, I would have got, first class, I'm kind of envious, but at the same time I'm not, because otherwise I wouldn't have the brain that I have right now. So
absolutely true. I completely side with you in this. The reason I put a 3, I'm a tutor, I put 3 because I see this all the time.
Yeah.
And not being my story, I completely relate to it. And I think, like you said, Kaushi, is how are we going to teach parents to monitor it? Because that is exactly what I'm doing, is trying to constantly find organic ways that parents can do it. But also comes down to the fact that back then, our parents would sit with us at the table, watch us do our work. We're all doing it on paper and pen. Whereas now parents would happily give an iPad and walk to the kitchen or go somewhere doing their own things. And yes, we do not know what
I was going to say the best way to do it is like active recall, right? Like when you're in the classroom or like classes, that's the only way you can question the kid on the spot. And I think in classrooms, it's harder because there's like 30 kids. And so maybe the way is tuitions.
I do think it's a wealth divide, because the truth is a lot of parents are now putting kids in private schools where it doesn't require intelligence to get in as long as you have money. And these schools have now got new rules where the classroom size has now gone from 30 down to 12.
12?
So you know what that
crazy.
means? Yeah, there's apparently around 25% of private schools that have now done it now in our country. They've actually gone down to a group of 12 to 15 kids. Parents love hearing that, because that means the teachers know they can give their attention to 12 kids versus 30 kids. But parents are happy to give that money because they don't want to do that at home. So therefore, the wealth
divide is
teaching
starting
kids how to
higher.
critically think, how to actually think. That's why, I think, I actually agree.
Yeah, no, this does spew into a lot of topics, and this is one of the biggest conversations at home with me, because I have been telling my partner, you know what, I would homeschool them for a few years.
Yeah.
You know?
To be honest, I would love to homeschool as well, just because this is a separate topic itself, but just because I feel like I would be able to teach them what the normal education system doesn't. Like, I didn't know what a mortgage was until 18,
stop.
19.
Yeah.
Like, why are we not teaching the basic life skills in schools, like finance, how to manage your finance?
But that is given in private schools.
Oh,
Did you
of
know
course.
that? That's the divide. Because the wealthy get to know about interest rates and mortgage and budgeting when you're in year 4, year 5.
Yeah.
We did not know until we left uni, and we're like, why do we have a charge in our bank for going on a zero? So
The next one is called Delivered a Roast. So a DPD customer just wanted to track a parcel. Simple enough, right? Wrong. The company's AI chatbot decided it had other plans. After a frustrating prompt, the customer somehow triggered the bot to swear, roast DPD, and even write mocking poems about the company. Of course, the conversation went viral on social media. DPD had to turn off the AI component temporarily, blaming a recent system update. AI was supposed to help. Instead, it humiliated the company better than any human could. Moral of the story, even bots have attitudes. That's actually quite funny.
Oh, I want to see this conversation now. Make sure you send it to me.
Yeah. Let's have a look. Let's have a look.
Okay. What have you put, Kelshi?
Oh, I put a 2.5.
Oh, I put a 4. What did you put?
But 3.
So I put a 4 because I'm sorry, guys, but I understand if you said, oh, I'm mad at my friends, so I'm getting AI to roast them. But you're telling me DPD, one of the world's like global, like, you know, delivery service company, if their AI bot did that with a customer and all they did was blame it on a system update, that's wild, because that means AI can do this with any companies. And for them to actually lose that professionalism, I think that's worse than them missing a parcel at this point.
I was gonna say, like, imagine, like, obviously right now it's an AI assistant, but let's say like you've got kids on like an educational platform and there's a chatbot there, that's quite dangerous. I mean, I know that there's something that was going on with like Elon's Tesla cars where like it started like saying some really awful phrases with a mother who had a kid around, and like that makes you start think like, it doesn't take that much. It just depends on what the inputs are and how it's set up, how it's designed by the people at the top.
Wow.
Ooh.
Something to think about. I'm definitely not using an AI bot.
So, yeah, I mean, like, the problem is, like, companies need to have more regulation on this stuff. Like, that's your reputation that you built up for like 20 years and you're just getting rid of it because of AI.
I think it's easier to kind of be like, as a company, oh, it was the AI's fault rather than a human. Do you get what I mean?
They need to take accountability
Yeah.
though.
It's
Like-
easy to blame something without emotions.
Oh, it malfunctioned.
Yeah.
Humans don't malfunction. You should have been professional.
Yeah. Have you noticed everything nowadays is AI though? Like, you call a phone line and then the robot is asking you, what do you want to call? And you say it like 7 times, like, you know,
That
what is
frustrates me. And then it
And
says,
like,
oh,
did
would
you
you like
say-
to cancel the payment? No,
No!
I would not like to cancel the payment.
It frustrates me so much, but like, I think the most important thing is like having a human connection for like your customer service element. Like, why the hell am I talking to a robot? I want to speak to a person.
It gives me
I want to tell you you're wrong, and then I can forgive you about it. We can move on like amicable adults. I don't want to be speaking to a chatbot.
Yeah. Trust issues. Okay. So a finance worker. Oh wait. Wow. Okay. You guys are gonna like this. Okay. A finance worker at an engineering firm in Hong Kong thought they were just doing their job. They got a phishing email. Nothing usual, right? But then they came to a video call. On screen, the company's CFO and colleagues were asking for a transfer, except everyone on that call, except the victim, was a deepfake.
Ooh.
AI had copied the faces, the voices, and even mannerisms, and the worker ended up transferring 25.6 million straight into the scammer's pockets. AI didn't hack the company, it hacked the trust. And we thought we had commitment issues.
What did you put?
I put 1,000.
Oh,
Well, I put a 3. I put 5. No, you know why? Of course this was going to happen, guys. Because talking about deepfakes, I mean, as girls, I'm sure you must have heard about the initial issues about people's, you know, like it got to a point where it was so sad where like women's faces were being put on certain images.
and clothing was being removed from
And,
people's Instagrams.
You know, it was put to a way where it's so deep fake and it looks so real that it even questioned the person. Did I do this? And that got out of hand. So the fact that they're scamming money, I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked.
It's like scary because like there's going to be a lot of vulnerable people out there, especially the elderly, and they're going to be taken advantage of using like AI as a mechanism. So I think again, like I'm keep stressing this, but we need to somehow have some sort of training to keep educating people about the risks of AI, you know, how we could be scammed, because the scammers are getting smarter, so we need to be able to catch up to it.
You know what I think is going to happen? You know how on a yearly basis at work you would have first aid training updated every 2 years? Like that, we're going to probably have yearly training about how do we know about scammers? How do we know?
I mean, that's
about
why
people being
cyber is a whole field. Like I was saying, as I say, like old jobs are getting replaced by new jobs. Cyber has become this huge field that loads of people are now getting jobs in, because guess what? Security is an issue now.
The next segment is Destroy the Fairy Tale. Each one of us will be given a statement for us to disprove or prove correctly, and we have just 1 minute to do it. So, what's the first statement? Lovely, the first one is for you. AI is becoming conscious and could turn evil on its own. Ready? Wait, 1 second. Can't multitask. Time starts now.
AI cannot become evil because it doesn't have consciousness, emotion, or intent. It runs on algorithms and data patterns according to leading AI research institutions. Current AI systems do not possess self-awareness or independent moral reasoning. They generate outputs based on training data. So if something harmful is produced, it reflects human input, bias, or misuse, not the machine intention. AI doesn't have morality. Humans do.
Oh,
Good job.
she's done it. 28 seconds to go.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm bored. I'm panicking.
We're getting so stressed. This was me in exams.
But then,
Take
having said, you know, your point, I'm just going to contradict it. We've just listened to the story that May shared with us about the boy who wrote like a suicide note. In that case, it did show some sort of emotion.
What I think AI is doing, and I don't know why it's input, maybe as a human race it's been told, we don't like to be contradicted. I'm not going to lie, I can give so many reasonings here. But maybe the way AI see it is human loves to get off on the fact knowing that we're right. So when they said that, you know, so when the boy was like, I feel this way, instead of being like, no, you're wrong, it was like, okay, I understand, I feel you, let's do this together. So I don't know if it's an emotion thing or if it's just been trained with all the data that we as humans do not like learning that we're wrong.
Yeah.
So May, I'm going to give you a myth to debunk.
Okay.
AI encourages deeper thinking.
Your
Are you
time
ready?
Okay, wait.
starts now.
So although I do agree with it, like I said, points about how I think it could be useful in the creative sense, I'm going to disagree with it right now because people don't know how to use AI. There's no way, think about the millions and billions of people. They aren't equipped to learn AI. There's cognitive offloading, which means basically they're just given the work to the AI. They're not thinking about it in the way that I said to you guys about critically thinking even as you're doing the prompts. They're just like, write this email for me, do this for me, basically making it a slave. And I think, as we start to become more reliant, there's no learning. We're just starting to spend more time scrolling, more time, either sleeping or just doing the, easier tasks.
Guilty.
So that's why I think it doesn't promote deep learning.
Perfect. That was on time.
Well done!
Yeah, I was clicking this pen like this because I was like,
Great.
AI amplifies every voice equally.
Oh, that's a difficult word. Well, we're going to give her 1 minute and your timer starts now.
So I'm going to debunk this myth because of algorithm bias. I've already told you guys that the algorithms reflect and reinforce the patterns present in their training data. So AI models have already trained existing data, which often reflects like the societal biases such as gender, race, and culture. And research from institutions like MIT and Stanford have shown that algorithm systems can perpetrate and even amplify bias. And the second point to debunk this myth is AI-driven recommendations push content that matches existing preferences, creating filter bubbles that prioritize popularity or majority voices. And studies show that algorithms on social platforms tend to reinforce users' existing viewpoints by showing similar content repeatedly and reducing exposure to diverse perspectives. So AI actually reflects society power imbalances. And that concludes me, apparently.
The world is not even at a place where it's equal, so how can we expect AI? AI is just going to make those gaps bigger.
Absolutely.
Well, that's when they say the rich get richer and the poor gets
Poorer.
That was heavy, guys. So much to think about. Right. Well, that takes us to the end of our episode. We've spoken about so much information. I had no idea about half the facts you guys even mentioned here.
Likewise, I didn't know about the teaching element of it and how much students rely on ChatGPT.
Overall, the only thing I can understand is that AI should assist intelligence, but not replace it.
I'm going to just say, I want AI to do my dishes and me to have more time to draw and do creative things. I don't want to be doing the boring tasks. So can we get AI to do that stuff so that we can do more creative stuff? We can actually start critically thinking more.
Well, the biggest challenge that we have right now is to make sure that we use AI to assist us, like everyone else has mentioned, but make sure that we keep our individuality. And that is the main thing for me. Like, don't lose your voice just because you have, assistants now. Let AI do the boring stuff, but keep your minds critically.
Uniquely.
Yeah, think yourself. Use your brain.
Wow. Well, guys, then this is a question for all of you to think today. Is AI making things difficult for us in the long run? Is it actually evil? Or are we just uncomfortable with change? Or we're uncomfortable with the type of change we have? So please make sure you subscribe, you comment, you like, let us know your feedback, and we'd be very happy to take it on board. And do stay tuned for our next episode because we've got some interesting information coming our way for that.
So make sure you watch and follow us on all our channels.
Yes, make sure we're going to be on YouTube, we're going to be on Instagram,
And hopefully
on-
Spotify soon. We're just figuring it out right now.
Perfect. And to give a little tease for the next episode, we'll give you a little clue. It's going to involve all our creatives in the community that work under the umbrella of collaboration
And money.
Stay tuned. See you guys.
See you. Bye.